Well, as anyone who's lived on the east coast of Australia knows, the last 3 years we've had La Nina, and this one is particularly severe. We've had just ridiculous amounts of flooding. Anyway, it's November, mid-November. I finally managed to get out for a dive on one of my favourite spots, and this is my first good set of cracks. There's a nice big cray in there, and managed to extract it. This cray looks just under maximum size. It doesn't have the bulges out the side that they get when they're oversized. I'm thinking, you beauty, this one's going in the bag. I finally got myself a nice cray. I whip the keeper bag out and go to put it in, and just as I'm putting it in, I turn it upside down, and I can't believe it. It's full of eggs. Anyway, of course, all lobsters with eggs have to go, and normally I'd check, but I thought this was probably a bit too small to even have eggs. But yeah, it just shows you got to check them before you put them in the bag. Back in the same crack, and fortunately there's another cray up behind where that one was, and this crack they can get out of reach. I was lucky they were all up the right end where I could still get hold of it. Anyway, I managed to whip this one out. Finally, I had my second legal Eastern Rock lobster for the season. Unbelievable for mid-November. Anyway, it was a beautiful cray, nice 14 centimetre job, and very happy to have one in the bag. I kept working along all my good series of cracks. I know this reef like the back of my hand, so I'm just going good spot to good spot. Unfortunately, all the good spots were dud spots. I saw one little kitten. I finally worked my way up to where I have a guaranteed slipper lobster spot. November's very late for slipper lobsters where we are. September's a big month. You can get them August and you can get them October, but don't get too many in November. Anyway, this is I thought was going to be a bonus. The eggs are a lot more obvious on a slipper lobster than an Eastern Rock lobster, and there was no doubt about it that this one was going back. Because they're a little bit doughy, the slipper lobsters, they don't often swim back to the bottom or go to the right spot, so I thought I'll just put him back exactly where he come from. And yeah, usually the big slipper lobsters like this late in the season, they're nearly all buried. They're nearly all female and they're nearly all buried. So anyway, it wasn't to be, but yeah, at least my favourite crack was still holding slipper lobsters. This next slipper lobster was very unusual. Normally they're pretty well hidden and you've got to look really hard. This one had like the sun spotlighting him, and just sitting like that out in the open in a pothole was absolutely magnificent. So be a little bit careful when they're like this, because they can jump when you try to grab them and get away, but this guy was very doughy. And anyway, had another thing to take home with me to add to my lobster. Getting in at the next headland where I did really well last season. I've looked at both sides of the headland, looked alright on the north side, looked alright on the south side, so I decided to jump in. But as soon as I got out behind the break, I soon realised what the visibility was, and you'll see from this next clip what it was like. Absolutely horrendous. Anyway, you can still get lobsters if there's lots around when it's like this, and to be honest, I did persist. I tried to work my holes and try to find out where I was from landmarks and all the rest of it. It was just hopeless. I ended up with nothing. Anyway, I stayed in my wetsuit, drove up the beach, and decided to hop in and another one of my really good spots, hoping to see some good crays. But the water was still a bit dirty, but nowhere near as bad as it was on the headland, even though this spot's only half a kilometre away. It was just amazing, the difference. But anyway, you'll soon see how this dive went. This is another spot where I really know the holes well. I've dived it heaps and heaps of times, and I just work a pattern right through to do every good hole, and it was terrible. All the holes were empty. I was very, very disappointed. Anyway, I finally, out in the back crack, I saw this good sized cray. I thought it was going to be pretty close on whether it was legal or not legal. But I've worked this crack before. It's actually in a previous video with Chris. We were trying to get a tropical lobster out of this crack, and they could just get to the back, and it's very, very hard. So anyway, that was my first try. Back down again, have another crack at it and see if I can get this one out. The trick is usually you can find somewhere or another to get something, even if you're just touching them a bit, get them to move a little bit, you know, any little bit of movement, and also the size of this cray might mean that I can get him into a spot where I can actually get him out. So anyway, there's my second unsuccessful try. Keep moving around the crack. It's so frustrating. You can see my fingers just touching him. I didn't want to rip any antennas off. I really wanted to try and get it out the hole. Back down again for my third try. You can see where I've got the gun position, so I'm marking the crack, so even in this filthy dirty water I'm not going to lose my spot, lose my orientation. Anyway, I'm looking at how can I get this cray. I'm going to have to get on my back, wedge myself in, be a little bit careful doing that. Now I can just touch the back, but I'm trying to get one of those spines, roll him over so I can get a grip. Anyway, it's just like literally I need another 2 inches and I'd be able to grab hold of this guy. Anyway, down I go for my fourth try. The last time I touched him, I must have just moved him a little bit. I got him to shift a little bit in the crack, because I've seen he's just in a slightly different position here. And I'm thinking I might just be able to get him. Anyway, have a crack, get in there, and I can reach the side of him. I can't get a good grip on the horn, so I've got to do something I hate doing, which is grabbing him by the legs on the side and the body and trying to shift him a bit so I can get to the horn. As you can see, as I just pull him a little bit, don't keep going, grab the cray, pin him down. Unfortunately, he drops a couple of legs, but anyway, I get this one out. As soon as I've got it in my hand, I know it's way oversized, which is painful, but anyway, get it up to the surface, and yeah, just don't even have to measure this one. I can tell it is oversized, and when I flip it over, once again, it's got eggs, so of course it's got to go back. I wish if I'd seen it had eggs when it was in there, I wouldn't even touch it, but anyway, it is what it is, and back it goes through the gloom, back to the bottom. Here's another one of my good cracks. It's pretty much my last hope. I've just about done every crack. I'd missed one spot on the way out, and probably being a little bit lazy, I hadn't gone back to find it properly. Anyway, I was in this is really reliable, this crack, and I'd seen the antennas. I thought, oh, this is illegal. I'll get on the board, and I grabbed it out. You can't really tell always from the antennas anyway. As soon as I grabbed this cray out, you can see it's well undersized and has to go back, so I don't even take it to the surface. There's no point measuring this one. By now I'm really desperate, so I've decided to swim back to the start bommy and go and find that cave that I missed. It's a double-sided cave. It's pretty tricky to get the crays out of. Anyway, I'm having a look in there, and lo and behold, look at that, there's antennas all over the place. But getting them out's a different story. Anyway, have a crack, and I've dislodged this big guy, but I couldn't get a grip on him. I was just going to rip his antennas off, which I didn't want to do because to help me to find him. Anyway, a very quick breathe up on the surface. I'm only diving 2.5 meters or 3 meters or something, so go straight back down again, because there's every chance he'll be walking out the back side of the cave and I can grab him from behind and take him. So anyway, I go back to the back end of the cave, have a look, quick look. Where is he? There he is, right there, tucked in a pretty tricky little position. So yeah, I can go back to the surface and do breathe up. Doesn't look like he's going to move. Back down for another crack. I have to wedge myself right in round the corner to try and grab this cray. Anyway, when I finally actually did grab hold of him, something happened with the GoPro, so I didn't get the actual pull out of the cave. But anyway, got this cray back up on the surface. Straight up, you can see he's an oversized cray. This is a male, got a skinny little tail and a great big head. Look quite different in the shape from the females. Anyway, yeah, you can see the big what I call the big petrol tanks on the side of him. So when you see that, you know he's going to be oversized. But I'm going to put him on the measure anyway, just to show you how big he was. Yeah, he's a good 3 centimetres over the maximum size of 18 centimetres carapace length, about 21 centimetres. That weight's probably put him between 3.5 and 4 kilos. But yeah, obviously being oversized, he's got to go back. I was just swimming past another one of my cracks that I'd already checked on the way out, and lo and behold, there's a slipper lobster just crawling along the bottom, which is also very rare, especially in November. You can see a little wobbegong in the hole. But I had to look at this guy. There's no legal size on slippers. I could take this guy if I wanted to, but he's just too small. It's much better to let him grow. I can have a chance of catching him next season, and he'll be a lot bigger. Anyway, I'll show you what I mean about them swimming. So I let go of this guy, and he just doesn't do anything. It's like he's dead. Just flip him around, try to get him motivated to swim back to the bottom, and he doesn't. So they're a funny creature, the slipper lobsters. As soon as he gets back down to the bottom, he's going to flip over and walk into the nearest cave. But there you go. Anyway, it gives you a good idea of the visibility too. Here I am, back in one of my favourite spots. I can actually see the reef, even though it's still going to be a bit green. Hopefully there's some crays here. A southerly change had come through during the night, and the wind was starting to blow harder, the swell was starting to pick up, and because we've had so much flooding, all the silt that's stuck to the kelp starts to lift off the bottom, so it made the visibility a lot more challenging. So even from when I got there to when I got out the back, you can see that the vis has dropped off considerably. So anyway, I finally managed to find a cray. Only 11.5 centimetres, but I was glad to have something. Anyway, we're hoping that with a bit of dry weather and maybe the sea will actually clear up and give us a little bit of a late run at the lobsters this season. Otherwise we're going to be turning our attention to the jewfish. So we'll see what happens. As always, please leave any comments you have. Happy to respond to anything. Hope you enjoyed the video.